All right, so moving on here, we're going to touch on some comics that have come out recently. We're going to briefly touch on Superman number 38. So this is a comic written by Jeff Johns and with artwork by John Romita Jr., and this comic book is pretty significant. Well, it was billed as being pretty significant. It appeared in USA Today, and DC kind of said major things are happening with Superman in this book. First thing I want to mention is the writer of this book is pretty significant to the DC universe and DC television in general, if you guys aren't familiar with him. Jeff Johns is a guy who's been with DC for a number of years. He's famous for writing the 52 miniseries, not New 52, mind you, but there was actually a book called 52. He did Blackest Night. Yeah. He did work on Green Lantern, which I guess is still Blackest Night, but he wrote Green Lantern before all of that. He's done the Flash and Action Comics, so he's a guy who's pretty well ingrained in the DC universe. I would argue that he's akin to what Brian Michael Bendis has been for the Marvel universe.
I couldn't tell you anything he's done by the name, but I know I've seen that name while watching Arrow and Flash.
Well, see, and that's the thing, yeah. So Jeff Johns originally got into DC television with the show Smallville, and he wrote a lot of the pivotal episodes of that show. Justice, I believe he wrote, which is the first episode that featured the Justice League. He wrote the first episode that featured the not Justice League that comes from the future and has the power rings. Legion of Superheroes. He wrote that. Yeah. He wrote the episode that featured the JSA, Hawkman and Stargirl and all those guys from the past. I think even Jay Garrick Flash was mentioned in that episode. So basically, anytime they need a super continuity heavy or super what am I trying to say, mythology heavy episode that harkens back to the comics, he worked on Smallville doing that. And he's done the same thing. He helped create Arrow for CW. He helped create Flash for CW. And he's even been announced as somebody who's going to be involved in creating Supergirl for CBS. So this guy is, I think, the chief creative officer. I don't have that in front of me. For DC Comics. So he is the man at DC Comics right now. So it was pretty cool that he wrote the Superman book where we see a new power set. And we'll get to that in just a moment. The other thing, and this is Superman number 38.
Who's the corresponding guy at Marvel? Is like Quesada or somebody?
Oh, well, so...
Just to put it in perspective of who this
I would say the most... Okay, so Quesada right now, I think, is chief creative officer, but Quesada, I would argue, for the last 15 years, hasn't contributed as much on the creative level as Jeff Johns has. Okay. I would say Bendis is much more in line with that. Gotcha. Bendis is the guy who helped co-start the Ultimate Universe. He's the reason we have new Avengers. He's the reason we have all new X-Men. He helped write the MTV Spider-Man show. He was an executive producer, I believe, on the a couple of other Marvel cartoons that have come out.
Does he have a Marvel Studios title, or is he just like a consultant, writer, producer, everything?
Well, I don't even know that they call him a producer. He might have had a job title change recently, but for the longest time, he's just been writer.
Just writer.
He wrote the story for Disney Infinity 2.0. So, I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. He also created Alias and Jessica Jones and all that. So he's been pretty significant. So back over to DC, Superman 38 had the artwork done by John Romita Jr. Now, John Romita Jr., I don't think this is his first DC book, but he doesn't typically do DC comics. And he's been on Superman for about a year now, I think. John Romita Jr. is much more famous for doing things like X-Men in the 90s or Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man. He did the artwork for World War Hulk. One of my personal favorites of his is Wolverine, Enemy of the State, where Wolverine gets brainwashed and attacks the entire Marvel Universe. So I like his art style. I don't think he's the perfect fit for a Superman-type character who's supposed to be squeaky clean. His art style tends to be very geometric and very kind of rough around the edges. But they put together an interesting book, and really, we're going to kind of touch on it lightly, but the reason the Superman book was significant was that he got a new power. Superman, who's known for having ice breath, super speed, flight, invulnerability, laser eyes. I mean, there's so many things that he's got. Hearing, supersonic hearing, he got a new ability where he can actually expel all the radiant energy from the sun that he's been storing up for 24 hours. He'll be weakened by this act, but basically it clears the area around him and is strong enough to take out Kryptonian level villains. So, or heroes, I guess, if he wants to. Yeah. So, might have helped him against Zod and Man of Steel, but that power didn't exist yet. So,
he also would have taken out the entire city with him.
Yes, that's true. So, I guess I want to just quickly touch on, what do you guys think of this new power for Superman? Do you feel like it was needed? Is it an interesting power? My thought is that it is an interesting power. I think it has the potential to be a get-out-of-jail-free card too often. But, you know, if it's used in the right hands, first of all, I don't think it's necessary, but now that we've got it, it's interesting. It might be fun to see on the big screen, and maybe they'll even integrate it into the movies.
I think we've seen Superman beat such high-powered villains that he doesn't really need it.
Yeah.
He's beaten Darkseid. He's beaten, like, Mongol. He's beaten a lot of different superpowered villains. I mean, he's beaten Lex Luthor. He's beaten Brainiac. So he's Superman. Like, you know, he's already. I think he's got enough. Just stacks and stacks of powers that he doesn't need
another one,
a nuclear bomb to say, you know what I mean?
And
he is the nuclear bomb.
Like, frankly, I don't, for that exact reason, I actually don't find the power all that interesting because there's basically one thing you can do with it. Blow everything up. It's not like, you know, it's not like he can ever, I mean, maybe I'll eat my words on this later, but I mean, how are you going to make that like an interesting solution to a situation? You can't really.
It's like, oh, things are getting rough. Boom.
It's like, it reminds me, I think it was in Man of Steel, but where they used the X-ray vision in really interesting ways, and it's like, I wouldn't have thought of him using it that way. Whereas with this, it's like, I mean, you know what he's going to do. He's going to blow up everything. Where else do you go with that?
Right.
So how does he control this particular power? Like, I mean, is he just like, or is it like always something like it stores up so much that he can't contain it? I don't know. Like,
well, so it's interesting to say the least. There are some times in comics where powers are introduced and writers will kind of forget about them after a while. I know at one point Nightcrawler had the ability to disappear anytime he was in a shadow. He would just be invisible. They haven't really used that since like the 1970s, you know. There was another storyline where Spider-Man got the ability to have stingers come out of his forearms, and then they just kind of used that for a couple of issues and didn't use it anymore. So, so I mean, this may be a power that doesn't stand the test of time. I guess we'll see. But so that's, I guess, just kind of announcing that, your thoughts. It's interesting to hear what you guys have to think or say about that.
Also new costume.
Which it does look more in line with the pre-New 52 Superman costume, but I also don't think it's that big of a departure from the original costume. I don't know why it was worth trumpeting that costume in USA Today. And you guys will see here, I have an image going up on the screen of what that costume looks like. But
he's got a Magneto cape.
Yeah, he's got a Magneto cape, So, I mean, it looks like a Superman costume.
How many times can you change the S?
So, I mean, every writer does that anytime they get on the book anyway, changes things over. So it's like, I mean, the power is an interesting addition. So, and then the costume is just, well, what it is. So, moving on, we have here Star Wars #2. So, back on our first show, guys, the first book we reviewed was actually Star Wars #1. This is, of course, written by Jason Aaron and John Cassaday, the same creative team we got on the last one. Laura Martin is still doing the colors. And the last time that we read Star Wars, we had seen that the Millennium Falcon was trapped in a junk heap and being ripped apart by aliens, basically. Luke and crew had kind of discovered a bunch of refugees or people that needed saving that they weren't counting on running into. And they were actually trying to sneak into a rebel base. And it's because Leia encouraged Chewbacca to take a shot at Vader that everything went south really fast. And then they were basically left like without an exit plan, and they had to figure out what they were going to do.
It's very generous that you say she encouraged him.
She yelled at him.
So, and then the kind of moment, I think, was when Luke approached Vader for the first time. So I think we had all pretty much enjoyed the first book. But I think at least I had a few reservations about the level of danger these characters are going to be in when we know what the movies present and how it could kind of go from here. I will say I enjoyed the first issue, but for that reason I didn't like it as much as I had hoped I would. With this issue, well, actually, Jay, let's go ahead and start with you. What did you think of this issue?
I thought it was, to say the least, great filler. I enjoyed like watching Han pilot a walker. That was kind of fun. And watching the banter that you see in the movies between him and Leia. And kind of
they've conveyed that very well.
I enjoyed the dialogue that they did and that they've written in this. Watching C-3PO get taken apart again.
That was great.
I mean, this is like it's the movie basically in comic book form, which I'm enjoying a lot. Seeing that kind of happen. I didn't see R2-D2 anywhere in this issue.
They showed him in one part where he was with a Jawa down in like.
Oh, he was fixing the guns.
Yeah, fixing the guns on the walker. I totally forgot about that part, but I saw that was kind of. He didn't really have a huge thing there, but I guess it was easily forgettable.
He got a kiss from Leia at the end.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was good. And then kind of seeing the face off between Luke and then like he's like, Vader, I know this lightsaber. I know this saber. And then all of a sudden, like, you see him like killing a bunch of people, and you're like, there's Vader. And I think it was more of a let's bring Vader to the forefront because I know they just launched his new comic book too.
They did, yeah.
So I think it was more of a hey, this is Vader, and then go read his comic type deal. So I think that was kind of what I got out of the book anyway.
All right. What were your thoughts on the book?
Very similar. It was much more action heavy than the first one, but that's also because there was less introduction to do. There were lots of good references, which I enjoyed. I mentioned to you earlier, the Vader holding the lightsabers like Anakin when he cut off Dooku's head.
Yeah.
Was a good reference. And other ones have already been mentioned. I love the nonchalance of Vader when Han's like, I'm gonna step on him, and then the next panel is just like Vader like, okay. Just holding the walker's foot up. But yeah, I mean, the progression was good. I would say more happened in the first issue. There's not as much to talk about here, but yeah, I still enjoyed it.
Okay, and I mean, I enjoyed the book more, I think, this time than I did the last time. One of my reservations, the whole they can't get in too much danger thing, maybe I'm kind of over that now. I still had fun, like, being along for the ride in this one. I thought the highlight of the book was certainly the Han and Leia arguing in the AT-AT. Like, that's just like it was portrayed in the films, and Jason Aaron's really got a great voice for these characters. I enjoyed the moment when 3PO is walking down the ramp of the Millennium Falcon. He's going to hold them all up. Yeah, and then the gun just falls down. He's like, whoop, I give up. I thought that was a great, it's just so 3PO.
Yeah.
And then, what was that other thing I was going to mention? So Vader was actually pretty dark and scary in this one, I thought.
Yeah.
Like, at one point, Luke's firing with a speeder bike, and all these stormtroopers go down, and Vader gets shot. And as he's getting up, his helmet's off, and one of those stormtroopers walks up. He's like, "Oh, sir, I had no idea."
Yeah.
And Vader just is like, "Nope, no one needs to know this."
You didn't see this,
correct?
Yeah.
So I thought he was pretty menacing on that front. But again, we've got the issue of a lot is going on between Vader and these rebels right now.
Yeah.
Like, how is none of this coming up in the later movies? I mean, I don't know how much time is supposed to pass between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. I don't think it's a lot of time.
No.
But just in these two books, these guys are a major thorn in his side, and it seems very unlikely that he would forget these guys. Vader, interestingly, doesn't know who took out the Death Star.
Yeah.
Which I thought he kind of figured out in the first movie. Maybe I need to watch it again.
I thought he had more of a sense of the Force when he was like, the Force is strong with
exactly,
this guy.
right?
Like, and then you would think, if being so in tune with the Force, he would know, hey, this is the guy that blew up the Death Star. Like, I gotta kill this kid.
Well, I feel like Robert was saying, I thought he actually felt that and like on screen in the first movie.
Maybe I'm mistaken. But,
No, and it's also interesting too to note that Luke totally knows where Vader is at all times, but Vader doesn't seem to quite understand where Luke is.
Yeah.
So maybe these are things that just need to be worked out. I'm still enjoying the adventure, but if every issue is these guys clashing with Vader, we're gonna have some issues. So maybe it's just because it's the introductory story that we aren't gonna see Vader again after this. It's still fun to read it, but and I still encourage you guys to check it out. But it's just a lot to take in, I think, if you're considering that the movies still take place after this.
I don't remember any Chewie in this issue. They mentioned him once, but I don't remember.
What was he up to?
Yeah.
You know what? Off the top of my head, I can't remember what he was up to either. Now that you mention it,
maybe he was on his way back to the Falcon. I don't know.
Yeah. So
I wonder if they're gonna write it more in the vein of Vader has his own deal. Leia has her own comic coming out.
Oh, she does, yes.
And maybe this kind of is to set up, hey, Luke, this is you here. Maybe this is Luke, Han, and Chewie doing things. I don't know if they got a Han and Chewie book coming out. I don't know, but
if they do, it better be a total comedy.
Yeah. So I don't know how they're gonna, progress the story more, but I'm excited to read more.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get some more Han and Chewie when Secret War happens. Maybe they'll run into that in the Star Wars universe. It would be hilarious, by the way, I think, if Star-Lord and Han Solo ran into each other.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
All right, so let's move on to what's going on in the gaming world. Last week, Sony Online Entertainment announced that Sony and themselves announced that they were selling off Sony Online Entertainment. Mm-hmm. Not a major developer in the video game world, but they've done notable things like EverQuest 2, DC Universe Online, and Free Realms, which was a game I didn't quite enjoy, but was available on the PlayStation Network. So they've done a lot of online games lately for Sony. Since being sold off, they've now changed their name to Daybreak Game Company, and they want to focus on multi-platform development, kind of like Sega did so many years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's a major blow to the gaming universe or the gaming world. I just thought it was notable. With them leaving Sony, they said that they will continue to maintain servers and stuff like that for the games that are already out there. And, this is done mostly, I think, as a move because Sony needs to make money, so they're selling off one of their game studios.
Yeah.
But also maybe it's a chance for Daybreak to get out there and do something new. Hopefully this doesn't mean all they're doing is mobile games, because that seems to be what everybody wants to do now, but that also seems to be, heck, I'm playing more mobile now than I am console anyway, so maybe that's what they need to do. So, but yeah, that's basically just kind of a bit of a note there. Another studio that's been around for a while that's going away. And then, let's see what we else have here. This week, we had a few game releases coming out. So, Jay, do you want to tell us about them?
Yeah. Earlier this week on Tuesday, we had Evolve 4 vs. 1 multiplayer. Had a sort of a single player with bots, but really good game. Only next-gen platform, Xbox One, PS4. The game is amazing. I think, personally, I like the whole 4 vs. 1 format developed by Turtle Rock Studios. The guys that did Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. That was produced by Valve. I think it was a couple of years ago.
I've heard the DLC structure's taken some flack.
Yes, I know they did the first pass, which was called the Hunter Pass, comes out. You get 4 hunters. No monsters are involved in that. I think that's the biggest thing, is because there's no monsters. The monsters sold separately are $15.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange.
Yeah,
especially because when you saw the videos of Evolve previously, it was all about the monsters.
It's all about being the monster, and they kind of made that like the premise of the game is be the monster, be the monster, be the monster. And them coming out at $15, that's a steep price point. I know it takes a lot to develop a new creature. Just the movements, getting the movements down, getting the lighting effects down, getting how they interact with the environment and with the other players. It takes a lot to develop those. I don't know if it's $15 worth of development, but I wish they would have actually added those guys into maybe a season pass.
Well, let's real quick put things into perspective for anybody who's not played or known anything about Evolve. What's a game that you would say that Evolve derives from? Is it a lot like Left 4 Dead, where somebody's the bloater basically, and the rest of the guys are the team that are going after them?
Yeah, it's
it sounds kind of like if Left 4 Dead were always in, like there was always a tank.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Basically, if someone was always a tank, but instead of them just being a tank and coming at you straight on, the 4 hunters have to track the monster. So you're looking at tracks, you're checking their feed patterns, you're seeing basically vultures fly around their dead carcasses of the animals that the monster's eaten. The monster can go in stealth mode too, so you can walk around stealthy, not break environments down. Not
Is there like a detective mode in this game?
Kind of. You start off when you drop down out of the ship. You have a dog basically that can track and see the footprints of the monster, and so you can see where it's going. And they light up in blue, so you're not always just left out in the dark. When the monster's so big that it actually destroys the environment when it walks. So you can see broken tree limbs, you can see all those things. There are objectives that you have to complete in a time frame. So as the monster, you have the objective is to run away, get bigger, get to stage 2, and then get to stage 3, and take out a generator, a power source that would help basically the hunters terraform this planet. As the hunters, your objective is always the same: take out the doggone monster. Either kill it or trap it. If you kill it, there are certain achievements and unlocks that you get. You're upgrading weapons. Every hunter has a jetpack, so they have kind of an aerial ability. If you're a heavier hunter, then you don't get so much boost, and it takes time to regenerate. And then if you're a lighter character, obviously you can go fly high. You can basically fly the entire match if you want. But you have a healer, you have a support class, you have an assault class, and then you also have a trapper. So picking your particular hunter kind of changes the gameplay up a bit.
Are there DLC hunters as well? Or?
Yeah, there are 4 hunters. There are 4 hunters that will be released in the Hunter Pass. Each hunter is different, but they fit into one of the classes. There are unlockable hunters in each class. Like in the assault class, there's a guy that uses an assault rifle. There's a guy that uses a shotgun. There's a guy that uses a bazooka. So there's different loadouts under each class.
Good. So even though it's made by the Left 4 Dead people, it's not like Left 4 Dead where it really doesn't matter what character you play.
Exactly. Yeah. Because in Left 4 Dead, you pick a character. The weapons are all the same. They're just laying on a table. You pick them up. And you go.
Exactly.
But in this one, you actually pick a loadout. You pick what class you want to be, and then you can choose either I know in one of the assault classes you can throw grenades, or you can have landmines, and so they have different loadouts, which makes for some interesting gameplay when you're a hunter.
Have you ever played Killing Floor?
No, I'm not.
It sounds kind of like that, where basically it's always boss mode, basically.
That's awesome. Yeah. There are different monsters, which makes up some different gameplay in that. There's the Goliath, there's a Kraken, there's a Wraith, and then they have some other ones. A Behemoth is coming out later on this year. But the monsters are cool because when you level up your monster and you go to a different stage, you can pick an attribute which you want to level up. And the Goliath has fire breath. He also has a rock throw where he just picks up a giant piece of earth and throws it at the hunters, which is a lot of fun. And then you have like a smash where you just drop down from an aerial assault and just smash and have a huge AoE effect. It's really cool. I enjoy being a monster. I haven't unlocked the Kraken yet. I think that's the one I want to use because each monster has their own element style. So you have one that's fire, one that's like lightning, and then I can't remember what the Wraith. I think the Wraith is wind powered attacks, like aerial attacks. So I'm very excited to see how like the game progresses on as you go through that, which is cool.
What would you say is the staying power of this game if anyone's looking to pick it up?
I would say there is a storyline. When you're the hunters, you play through a little bit of a storyline. If you're a huge multiplayer fan, that's going to be good. There's content releasing. I know it's not in the best manner, but there is content releasing, so I think that's going to be good. I think as far as getting something fresh, 4 versus 1, it's never been done before in gaming. So I'm thinking that's going to be kind of the staying power. I think they're going to maybe have a sequel out of this. And if Evolve 2 comes out, I bet it'll just be bigger and badder. So
cool.
Yeah.
There's a season pass?
There's a Hunter Pass, which is out right now. I'm expecting a Monster Pass coming out. So I know the $15 a pop on each monster. Maybe if they do like 3 monsters for $30 or $35.
Says it's tough, but we're paying like $13 for Disney Infinity characters.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's like
But you're getting,
I did the same thing.
You're getting a little statue with it.
That's true.
Something my daughter.
So if Evolve had figures, that'd make it worth it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think in the future we'll see something come of that. Come of the monster, maybe a Monster Pass where we see that, or maybe they do a special deal. And I know with Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus, they always do the discounted items. So maybe we'll see them do discounted items on the monsters or the hunters later on. So
okay. And what else came out this week?
Best thing about today is new 3DS launched today. The new 3DS from Nintendo, which was a huge deal, and The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask as a compilation, and Monster Hunter 4, which are some big deals hidden from Nintendo. Nintendo's kind of firing on all cylinders on their handheld market, which I'm pretty excited for. The new 3DS has a new C-Stick. It's kind of like I don't know if you ever played with the like the Intel laptops where it had, or the HP laptops where it had the mouse button
in the middle of the keyboard.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels like on the new 3DS. There are 2 new shoulder buttons, 2 new Z buttons, which feel really comfortable. Actually, I was kind of skeptical at first about how they would feel going on the inside, but it feels really great in my hand. New motion tracking 3D. The 3D actually follows you. Instead of being cut off on the edges, it's full scoped on the actual screen. So when you move the 3D, it actually follows your head and tracks you.
That's really smart.
Yeah, you don't lose your 3D. It's pretty cool. That's really nice. Built-in NFC and Amiibo support, which I really like. I've bought quite a few Amiibos myself. It's like me with it's like you guys and me with the Marvel Heroes and Infinity. But the Amiibos are really cool. I got a couple of those guys. I can't wait to put them in on my new 3DS, which is nice. Again, Nintendo makes it difficult to transfer information. It takes forever. There is no way to actually link your accounts on multiple 3DSs. You have to either transfer all your information or not at all.
Man.
I think big miss for Nintendo there, but with that being said, I mean, if you're a Nintendo fan, I definitely recommend picking one of those up. Majora's Mask. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. What can I say? It's Majora's Mask. I know it was one of the more disputed Legend of Zelda games, but I've enjoyed it since I played it on 64, GameCube. It's amazing on the new 3DS. The processing power on the new 3DS makes it look so much more crisp.
Did they reuse the assets from the Ocarina of Time remake, you think, or did they?
I think they did. I think they retooled it using that kit from Ocarina of Time. sharpening up the edges, popping out the colors, really getting some deep blacks and richness in it. Termia is totally different than Hyrule. Like the worlds in Majora's Mask are so much darker, and there was a lot of weird lighting on the 64 version, and they really brightened it up. I know in a lot of the dungeons, it seemed really dark. They brightened up some of the colors so you can actually see where you're going in the dungeons.
Okay.
And did a lot of that. Using the C-stick with the weapons is so much better than having a stylus and having to touch the screen and do all that.
I can't even imagine. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's really. I think that's more what the C-stick's for, is to replace a lot of the stylus movements. But I'm enjoying.
I haven't played the Ocarina remake, but I did play Phantom Hourglass. But that game was built for that, so I think it was a better fit. I can't even imagine doing that in like Ocarina. How did that work?
With the stylus movements in Ocarina weren't as quite predominant in that game, because it's more still just running around with the C-stick or with the analog stick and the shoulder buttons. I just used most of the touchscreen to change weapons as quick as I could. Gotcha. Just tap and go in that way.
I bet that's really nice too, because in the N64 version you had to open the menu, and there was that slow open the menu, move over to the thing.
And that's the thing about the DS and the Wii U. Even with the touchscreen, you can just hit a weapon, or even like if on I know in Wind Waker on the Wii U, the map is on the screen. All literally everything on your television is just Link. Everything else is on even your heart scales and everything on the pad. So playing on a touchscreen, I think it makes for a better dynamic. I think the technology allows Legend of Zelda to kind of transform in that sense. Monster Hunter also released today.
Okay. Japan cared and the rest of the world is quiet.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 people.
There were some guys, I would say. I'm not a huge Monster Hunter fan. I haven't played a ton of them. I played a little bit of Monster Hunter 3 on...
That was a Wii game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Monster Hunter Tri on the Wii, and I liked it. I've always been a fan of like great camera angles in a game. Really makes the difference for me. It's either make it, break it, and the camera angles in Monster Hunter were so atrocious because you couldn't, like, the controls to change the camera were so tough. With the new C-stick, it makes it world of difference. Like, you have to have that C-stick. If you don't, then it makes it really tough. So I feel sorry for anybody that's not playing it on the new 3DS. So hopefully they have a Circle Pad Pro or something to help them play with that. But having that going is really great. The monsters are gorgeous. Building your weapons, customizing everything. At first I despised Monster Hunter, but I love Monster Hunter.
Really?
This is awesome.
That's good, man.
I can't talk bad about the game, actually. Having the new C-stick, having the weapons customization, like even Monster Hunter's like little quirky stories that go along with everything, and your little companions, and teaming up with friends now is like, it's so much easier. It feels like the Monster Hunter Freedom Unite on PSP. That's what it feels
really?
like.
Okay.
So it feels a lot better with the 2 analog sticks, and I'm enjoying it. So
fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I got going on in gaming.
All right, well then let's say what we're all playing this week. Go ahead and start with you, Greg.
I'm doing very little gaming these days, but still trying to play Smash as much as I can, and doing Marvel Puzzle Quest.
All right, and I gotta say for me, not as much gaming as I'd like to right now, but I'm still doing Marvel Puzzle Quest. It's really easy when you're waiting for a toy review to render to just pop out your smartphone and go. Yep. And how about you, GT?
Made some headway in Marvel Puzzle Quest.
Yes, I saw that.
I got a Thor. Yes.
Yeah.
Got Cyclops this week.
Nice. Doing that. I'm playing Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and actually rolling through Evolve and trying to finish up Dying Light. That game is kind of taking a lot of my time.
Oh, yes, and I hear good things from Dying Light as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, well, then let's talk about our pick of the week. I'm going to start with myself. Spider-Verse just wrapped up this week, and I really enjoyed the series. I mean, it still has an epilogue issue coming out, but it was a lot of fun to read a comic book that brought in all these other dimension Spider-Mans, or even all these main Spider-Man figures. We've got Spider-Woman, we've got Spider-Man, we've got Spider-Girl, we've got the Ultimate Spider-Man, we've got Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly Spider-Man. I mean, if you guys have been following the Spider-Man comics for a while, there's a lot of different Spider characters, and it's been a lot of fun to see all of them together in this miniseries as it runs along. I don't want to say too much about how the series ends. The final issue just came out this week, and I really would want you guys to get caught up, I think, before I tell you what happens at the end of it all. But you can find all the issues, I'm sure, at your comic shop. But they were fighting Morlun and his family, and Morlun's kind of a vampire-like character who's lived for several centuries. And long story short, there was a prophecy that they were trying to prevent from happening, and it's a really fun time. We get all sorts of crazy cameos. We see, I don't know if you guys remember Mini Marvels, but these things have come out. They were originally bullpen comics, kind of akin to Peanuts that showed up in Marvel Comics. We saw the Spider-Man from Mini Marvels show up as one of the Spider-Mans in this universe. Or last week, or whenever the last book was, we even had the Japanese Spider-Man show up with his mech from the Japanese show. So, I mean, they've grabbed everybody. Basically, the only Spider-Man I think is missing so far, much to my chagrin, is the 90s animated Spider-Man. But they've done other Spider-Mans. So, it's been pretty great. But I think it's a really fun story. And you guys definitely want to check that out this weekend. Also, one thing I forgot to put on here that I'm going to make my second pick, and I know I'm kind of cheating here, is this weekend is New York Toy Fair. So if you guys are not familiar with Toy Fair, it is an exhibition show that's only open to press and only open to the people who purchase toys for retail, people who represent Target, Walmart, Toys R Us. It's this show that happens in New York once a year. Basically, Hasbro, Mattel, Playmates, Bandai, all these guys are there saying, here is our toys for the rest of the year. This is what we think is going to be a big hit. This is what you need to purchase. Please purchase this too. And it's just a bunch of toy companies appealing to other people. But we're going to get a lot of announcements out of this week. New Star Wars Black figures. We're going to see new Marvel Legends that we haven't seen yet. We're going to see new stuff from Mattel, DC figures. I know that just yesterday online, they showed the first ever Felicity Smoke and Andy Diggle, that's the writer. What's Diggle's first name? John Diggle. Yeah. Yes, they showed the first Felicity Smoke and John Diggle figures. Cool. We've also got Captain Cold. So, I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff that's going to be coming out. So if you guys are into toy collecting like I am, definitely check out online, marveltoynews.com, toynewsinternational.com. Those sites are going to have all of the stuff as it's revealed. So it's going to be pretty fun this weekend. What do you have this week?
Well, my pick last week, I'm going to move up to this week because I'm lazy. It's the 90s animated Fantastic Four series.
Right.
Now, I explained to Robert when I had started watching the show, it's definitely a guilty pleasure. Like, the shows are not all that thoughtful, but it's still a lot of fun to watch, and it's probably the closest I've gotten to Fantastic Four ever. I mean, but when we were kids, we watched it, but I haven't seen the new Fantastic Four movies. I've not read any Fantastic Four comics. So, as far as that, getting the exposure to Fantastic Four and their villains, like the Skrulls and the Puppet Masters and people like that, I'm enjoying it. So, I mean, it's definitely not as substantial as, like, the 90s X-Men series or the 90s Spider-Man series were, but I'm enjoying it. I do hope to move on to a more substantial series afterward.
Fantastic. Yeah. And JT?
I'm going to cheat like you. I got two.
Okay.
I'm definitely diving deep into Majora's Mask.
All right.
I'm loving that game right now. And then I'm rewatching the first half of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hey. Okay.
I'm getting ready. I'm so getting ready for Sky's kind of big happening. So I'm really looking forward to that. And so that's what I'm doing this week. Those are my picks of the week.
All right. And did you want to show off here too what you picked up this week?
This is the limited edition Majora's Mask edition of the new 3DS XL. Very, very hard to get. It was online only through a lot of retailers, Best Buy, GameStop, Walmart, Target. I think Toys R Us had a few allocated to them also. That was kind of a good thing that I got to pick up. And totally recommend if anybody needs a 3DS.
They can still find it in stock too at this point, right?
Yeah. Maybe on eBay by the one guy who's selling it for quite a bit of money. That is cool. But there was this one. There was also a Monster Hunter 4 limited edition that actually came with a digital download.
Oh, nice.
Of the game, which was pretty cool. I will give a heads up to anybody that's buying a new 3DS XL. I think I said it before. Make sure you transfer all your information first. If you don't transfer your information first and you log into a new Nintendo ID account, it will lock you out. You cannot transfer anything over to the new 3DS XL. So heads up to all the gamers out there. Be aware. Make sure that you do all your transfers first before you open it up. And good luck to anybody trying to find one. Also, if they're trying to find the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask Collector's Edition with the Skull Kid, that is also locked up. And hard to find. So
sold out minutes after everywhere it was posted.
Yeah. I didn't even get one of those. And I work retail, so it's hard.
Yeah. And looking at that Toad amiibo, man, he's going for like $9,999 last time I checked on Amazon. So I have no idea.
Whoa. Yeah. Amiibos is just mind-boggling to me. I got the ones that I want. I've gotten all the Legend of Zelda ones because I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan. I've gotten a few of the Mario characters. I had to pick up Pikachu because he's the only Pokemon right now, aside from Lucario, who is a Toys R Us exclusive. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I think Charizard might be coming at some point too.
Yeah, Charizard, and I know Greninja because they're in Smash Brothers. So probably Jigglypuff. And maybe a few other little ones that are inside of Smash Brothers. But other than that, you won't see too many Pokemon ones. So.
All right, well, we kind of went over there on the pick of the week, but I think we got a lot of good things to look forward to, guys. Absolutely. So thanks for joining us this week. If you guys want to catch this show, we will be posting episodes up as we complete them. One of these days, maybe we'll even get an MP3 going. I'm going to be looking into that for you guys so you can download and listen to the show on a podcast service of your choice. Again, that's not soon, but it's coming, so certainly be on the lookout for that. Definitely make sure, guys, leave comments in the video below if you have anything you want to share with us, thoughts on what we talked about this time. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, we'd love to interact with you guys. You can catch Greg at
Yoshimitsu47.
I'm at D21Beast, and you can catch Jay at
Big Knights 33.
All right, guys, well, thanks for joining us again for our third week. We'll see you next week, and have a good one.